The FMA dealt what appeared to be a major blow to Validus last week when it handed out its stop order. But as Nicholas Poynton writes in his debut shoeshine this week, it won't stop the multi-level marketing scheme operating here. Nicholas, you've been covering this company for a long time now, investigating them since, November last year-ish? Why don't you just remind us who they are, what they do, how you came across them?
So Validus is an international multi-level marketing scheme that's registered in Delaware in the United States and is based out of Dubai. And the people who started this company have links to the infamous OneCoin scam, if people remember that from a few years back, which was a massive sort of crypto pyramid Ponzi scheme, sort of the holy trinity there.
Everything you want.
And when it collapsed, hundreds of thousands of people around the world lost millions of dollars. And what Validus's core product was that it was selling to people were these education courses or online training courses that initially started off as being teaching how to people everything about and how to trade Forex, but sort of expanded to sort of leadership and business management. And you paid for these courses in cryptocurrency. The prices range from sort of $50 all the way up to $10,000. And on top of that, not only did you just receive that course, Validus told people at the start that they would invest 100% of the money you spent on that package in a smorgasbord of financial products, things like crypto, Forex, NFTs, shares. They called it the Validus pool. And from there, they would pay out a return of 2% to 3% every week for 60 weeks, resulting in a spectacular 350% return on investment. It seemed that Validus had the best traders in the world. And so that was sort of the core product and what was offered, but there was also, like all multi-level marketing schemes, quite a complex recruitment and sort of bonus network, whereas members could sort of earn money and various rewards for recruiting people into the scheme, and they ascended sort of the various ranks within Validus. So we became aware of this sort of towards the end of last year. I came across it on Facebook. I was seeing these ads for these events that was sort of dotted around Auckland, parts of the North Island, and largely seemed to be targeting sort of Tongan New Zealanders. So from there, I couldn't help myself. We started going along to these meetings and were really sort of blown away about what was being talked about, sort of the claims that were being made, and how these people were sort of advertising or sort of promoting this to people. And then that sort of brought us to the event that we wrote about in sort of November last year, which was a massive event at Mount Smart Stadium. I estimate about 250 people were there, mainly the Tongan community. One of Validus's top brass or top dogs, a guy called Powers Dawald, had flown in from overseas for this event to promote it. And that really formed our first basis of our first story.
And then you kept reporting on these guys, and it wasn't long until the FMA started taking notice. What were their actions?
Yes, so after that first story, we kept on reporting it. The regulators were sort of slow to react, but we knew that it was definitely on their radar after that story. And all sort of came to a head in sort of February of this year when the FMA hit Validus with an interim stop order, which effectively banned the company from operating here for 30 days while it considered a permanent stop order. And some time passed, and Validus was subsequently hit with a permanent stop order on May the 2nd. But unfortunately, the FMA couldn't publish that decision because Validus hired some sort of gun lawyers here from Balgully to actually fight it. And they managed to actually get the details or, get a suppression order to stop that stop order from being published while they sought an appeal from the High Court. Ultimately, the Validus lost that case. The judge dismissed all their arguments, and the judgment was published last week, and the stop order was published the same day on July 5th. And that decision made for some interesting reading, because the basis of why the FMA went after Validus was because of this Validus pool product, because it sort of met all the criteria of an unlicensed financial product that Validus was offering. So when they wrote to Validus on March 24th to notify them about their intention to hit them with the stop order, Validus had a right of reply. 5 days later, they came back and said, actually, no, that pool product never existed. We've removed it from all communication. Well, the FMA took what I thought was quite a clever response and decided to accept those statements as true. Let's assume that there is no product. Well, that means that at that event in November last year, you were advertising and promoting a product that did not exist.
Right.
So that was how the FMA ultimately nailed Validus. And, that was quite... When I first saw that decision, I thought, wow, this is massive. But it was sort of over time, I gave myself a couple of days and really sort of began to marinate on what the actual terms and what was involved here. And I began to sort of have some doubts about how effective this might be.
You hear stop order and you go, okay, job done, that's it. But you're maybe not so sure.
Yeah, look, I should say that the stop order would have massive reputational damage for FMA. It's quite clear. You don't hire Bell Gully, some of the most expensive lawyers in the country, to go into bat for you if you're not determined to try and win this case. And look, after that stop order was published, every news company in the country pretty much picked it up. You had these content aggregating websites sort of syndicating it. You Google Validus, it's the first thing that comes up. So naturally, there was definitely, you don't want this to be in the press, you want to keep this under wraps. But the more I began to think about it, and I looked at the wording of that stop order, it prohibits Validus and its associated people from offering, promoting, or accepting money for financial products. But Validus has said time and time again, it says it in its updated financial in its presentations, that it does not offer a financial product. So technically, and this has been confirmed to me by the FMA, Validus can continue to operate, its local promoters here can continue to have online seminars, they can hold in-person events to promote these educational courses.
So the training courses are fine?
The training courses are fine.
Right.
The recruitment side of it, that wasn't captured by the FMA's sort of investigation because they were only concerned with financial products. They don't look into suspected pyramid schemes. That's the domain of the Commerce Commission. And it is worth mentioning that the Commerce Commission has launched a probe of its own into Validus. And that's why I've sort of come to this conclusion that this blow, while quite a setback for Validus, it's still standing. It can still kind of actually technically still operate here in New Zealand. It'll be interesting to see if they actually do so.
Despite that, though, you have covered other challenges that the company has been facing this year. So what were some of those? What's next?
Yeah, it's one of the challenges that Validus have been facing, and the next 6 months is going to be very interesting for this company, was they're having withdrawal issues. So, that money that you were spending and they were going to invest, people could withdraw that with a 5% fee. But on April 19th and April 20th, they notified all their members that we're actually temporarily suspending withdrawals. And it seemed like innocuous stuff at the start. They said they're having this big sort of IT security upgrade, and this is what was the delay. But there have been subsequent delay after delay after delay that people have not been able to pull their money out of this scheme. And it all sort of came to a head on July 5th, the same day the stop order came out. They notified, a large chunk of its members that regrettably all withdrawal requests have been cancelled. So there'll be Validus members around the world who'll be scratching their heads thinking, wait, what's going on here? I thought I was going to get a massive return on investment, even though you say that it's not an investment, but that's what I was sold last year. So that's one clear issue to me that makes me wonder, how long can this thing actually go on? The other is around sort of recruitment, and there's been a massive emphasis on this in these global Zoom calls that Validus hosts from time to time. They've taken steps to make it easier for people to ascend its ranking system and earn various rewards and points. They've also made it harder for people to sort of earn as many rewards as they once did in the past. And you sort of have to step back and think about, well, why are they doing this? If recruitment was going really well, you wouldn't need to sort of offer these discounts or really ram this down people's throats during these big online presentations that they're having. And one other thing that I've seen that sort of led me to believe that there has been a bit of a recruitment slowdown is just website traffic to the Validus website has more than halved over the past 3 months, and that really does sort of align with the suspension of withdrawals. So what's next for Validus? I have no idea at this stage. It's been kind of a company that's really defied me over the past 9 months. But that Commerce Commission probe, the outcome of that, depending on what it is, if they come out swinging and found that Validus has actually breached the Fair Trading Act, that they rule it, they investigate it on grounds that it might be a pyramid scheme, that could prove fatal for the company. I would suspect that, an OECD company like New Zealand, when its regulators go after a company like this, others around the world would definitely take notice.